The blueprints scattered across my basement office told a story of precision, of careful planning, of dreams built line by line. At 2:47 a.m., those same blueprints mocked me as I sat surrounded by the evidence of my wife's betrayal. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I'm Sawyer Kincaid, 37 years old, and until tonight I thought I was a successful architect with a solid marriage. My specialty is boutique residential projects in our coastal New England town of Millbrook Harbor, the kind of place Stephen King would recognize, where everyone knows everyone else's business, and secrets have a way of surfacing like driftwood after a storm. The perfume hit me first. Vivienne's clothes reeked of it, not her usual scent, but something cheaper, more desperate. Club wristbands littered our laundry hamper like confetti from someone else's party. For weeks, I'd been finding these breadcrumbs of deception, each one another crack in the foundation of our 8-year marriage. Vivienne Rojas, she kept her maiden name for professional reasons, worked as a PR manager for Pulse, the high-end nightclub that attracted wealthy tourists and locals pretending to be wealthy. She was magnetic in that dangerous way, the kind of woman who could make you forget your own name while she was already forgetting yours. At 34, she still turned heads, still commanded attention, still acted like the world owed her something. Tonight, she'd gone too far. The front door slammed upstairs, followed by the sharp click of her heels on our hardwood floors. Designer heels, I noted with bitter precision, the ones I'd bought her for Christmas, now carrying her home from another man's bed. "Sawyer?" Her voice drifted down the basement stairs, artificially sweet. "Are you still working on those boring blueprints?" I didn't answer immediately. Instead, I studied the tablet she'd left charging on my desk. Her tablet, unlocked, displaying a conversation that made my stomach turn. Chloe Martinez, Vivienne's best friend and social media accomplice, had been busy tonight. "Did you tell Sawyer you're staying at mine? Ryan's so excited he can barely keep his hands off you in public. Girl, you need to be more careful. People are starting to notice." Vivienne's response: "Sawyer's clueless. He's too busy with his little building projects to pay attention to what I need. Ryan gives me everything he doesn't." Chloe: "Just saying, maybe don't wear Ryan's cologne home next time, and definitely wash that hickey off your neck before you see your husband." My hands remained steady as I screenshotted everything. 8 years of marriage, and this was how it ended, with text messages about hickeys and cologne. "Sawyer!" Vivienne's voice carried irritation now. "I asked you a question." I climbed the stairs slowly, each step deliberate. Vivienne stood in our kitchen, still dressed for war in a black dress that cost more than most people's rent. Her makeup was smudged, her hair disheveled in a way that screamed recent activity. "Long night at work?" I asked, my voice neutral. She had the grace to look slightly uncomfortable. "You know how these industry events are. Lots of networking, lots of schmoozing. I'm exhausted." "I bet." I leaned against the doorframe, studying her like I would a flawed blueprint. "How's Chloe? She seemed pretty chatty tonight." A flash of something, fear, guilt, crossed her face. "Chloe's fine. Why?" I held up her tablet. "You left this downstairs. It's been buzzing all night." The color drained from her face, but Vivienne had always been quick on her feet. "You went through my private messages?" "Your private messages were displayed on a tablet you left in my office. I couldn't help but notice the interesting conversation about Ryan Palmer." Ryan Palmer. 29 years old, Pulse's resident DJ and self-appointed king of Millbrook Harbor's nightlife scene. He drove a leased BMW, lived in a condo his parents paid for, and had the kind of artificial confidence that fooled exactly no one with half a brain. Apparently, it fooled my wife. "It's not what you think," Vivienne said, but her voice lacked conviction. "Really? Because what I think is that you've been sleeping with Ryan Palmer while telling me you're working late or staying at Chloe's house. What I think is that you've been lying to me for months, maybe longer. What I think is that you've been treating our marriage like a convenient cover story while you play house with a wannabe DJ who still gets his car payments from mommy and daddy. The mask slipped. For just a moment, I saw the real Vivienne, cold, calculating, and completely unrepentant. If you hate my life so much, maybe you should just leave, she said, lifting her chin in that defiant way I'd once found attractive. I nodded slowly. You know what, Viv? You're absolutely right. She blinked, clearly expecting a fight, not agreement. I should leave, I continued. In fact, I think I will. Sawyer, wait. But I was already walking away, already planning. In my basement office, I began methodically packing everything that mattered. My laptop, my backup drives, my most important blueprints, my personal tools. Everything that made me who I was, everything I'd built. Everything I'd earned. At 4:15 a.m., I loaded the last box into my truck. On the kitchen counter, I left a note written in the same precise handwriting I used for architectural annotations. Vivienne, you said if I hate your life, I should leave. You're right. I'm gone for good. Don't contact me. Don't try to find me. Don't pretend this was anything other than what it was. Your choice. The locks will be changed by noon. Sawyer, I drove away from 8 years of marriage without looking back, already 3 steps ahead in a game Vivienne didn't even know we were playing yet. Wes Hartley had been my best friend since we were 12 years old, bonding over a shared love of building things and taking them apart again. Now 36, he ran a successful contracting business and had a garage apartment that became my temporary headquarters for what I'd started thinking of as Operation Scorched Earth. Jesus, Sawyer, Wes said, helping me unload boxes at 5:30 a.m. When you said you were leaving Vivienne, I thought you meant after a big fight, maybe some couples therapy first. This is some next-level ruthless behavior. She made her choice, I replied, setting down a box of architectural books. I'm just making mine. Wes studied my face in the dim garage lighting. You're planning something, aren't you? I'm planning to rebuild my life without a cheating wife. That's not what I meant, and you know it. He was right, of course, but some plans were better kept private, even from best friends. My phone started ringing at 7:43 a.m., Vivienne discovering my note and the empty closets. I let it go to voicemail, then again at 7:47 and 7:52. By 8:15, she'd called 12 times. The voicemails started desperate. Sawyer, please call me back. We need to talk about this. You can't just leave without discussing it. By the 5th message, desperation had turned to anger. This is ridiculous, Sawyer. You're acting like a child. Come home so we can handle this like adults. By the 10th message, she was bargaining. I know you're upset, but we can work through this. I'll end things with Ryan. I'll do whatever you want. Just come home. I deleted them all without listening to the end. At 9:30 a.m., my phone buzzed with a text from a number I didn't recognize. This is Chloe. Vivienne is freaking out. She says you left her? What the hell is wrong with you? I screenshot the message and saved it to a growing folder labeled Evidence. The real entertainment started when Mrs. Eleanor Fenwick knocked on Wes's garage door at 10:15 a.m. Eleanor was 73, lived next door to the house Vivienne and I had shared, and possessed the supernatural ability to know everything that happened within a 3-block radius. Sawyer Kincaid, she said, adjusting her glasses and looking me up and down with the precision of a building inspector. I saw you loading boxes at dawn. I also saw that wife of yours come home at 3 in the morning, stumbling around in those ridiculous shoes. Morning, Mrs. Fenwick, I said carefully. Oh, don't morning me, young man. I've been watching that girl carry on for months now. Different cars dropping her off, different men picking her up. That Ryan Palmer boy has been sniffing around your house like a dog in heat every time you're at work. Wes choked on his coffee. I'm sorry to hear that, Mrs. Fenwick, I said. Sorry, nothing. I'm glad you finally grew a spine. That girl's been making a fool of you all over town, and everyone's been too polite to say anything. Well, I'm too old for polite. She patted my arm with surprising gentleness. You did the right thing, dear. Now, is there anything you need? I make excellent casseroles, and revenge is always better on a full stomach. After she left, Wes looked at me with new respect. Dude, you've got the neighborhood gossip network on your side. Vivienne's screwed. That's the idea. My phone rang again. Vivienne, call number 18. This time I answered. Sawyer, thank God. Where are you? Come home right now. I am home, I said calmly. This is where I live now. Don't be ridiculous. You live here with me. We're married. We're married. Past tense. I'm filing for divorce on Monday. Silence. Then, you can't be serious. Absolutely serious. Oh, and Viv? I changed the locks this morning. Don't bother trying your key. You can't change the locks? It's my house too. Actually, I can. Check the deed. The house is in my name only. You remember? We discussed it when we bought it. You said you didn't want the responsibility of ownership. Another silence. Longer this time. Sawyer, please, can we just talk, face to face? We are talking. This is me talking. I'm telling you that I know about Ryan. I know about all the lies and I'm done. There's nothing left to discuss. I can explain. I'm sure you can. You're very creative. But I'm not interested in your explanations. I hung up and immediately blocked her number. At 2:30 p.m., Vivienne showed up at Wes's garage with backup. Ryan Palmer himself, looking like he'd stepped out of a men's magazine for guys who thought hair gel was a personality trait. Sawyer, Ryan called out, all swagger and artificial confidence. We need to talk, man to man. I set down the blueprint I'd been reviewing and walked outside slowly. Wes followed, carrying a paint-stained coffee mug and wearing the expression of someone expecting entertainment. Ryan, I said pleasantly, how nice to see you. How's the DJ business? Still playing other people's music and pretending it's a career? His face flushed. Look, asshole. Careful, I interrupted, my voice still calm. You're on private property, uninvited, with my estranged wife. I'd hate for this to become a legal matter. Vivienne stepped forward. Sawyer, stop being dramatic. We just want to talk. We? I looked between them with theatrical surprise. Oh, that's right. You're a we now. How long has that been going on exactly? Don't lie. I've got timestamps. Ryan puffed up like a peacock. Maybe if you'd been taking care of your wife's needs. Her needs? I laughed, and it wasn't a pleasant sound. You mean her need for someone to pay her bills while she played house with a trust fund baby? Her need for a husband who worked 60-hour weeks so she could afford designer clothes to impress her boyfriend? Those needs? You don't know what you're talking about, Ryan said, but his voice cracked slightly. I know you're 29 and your parents still pay your car insurance. I know you got fired from your last 2 jobs for showing up drunk. I know you've been bragging to your friends about stealing someone's wife like it's some kind of achievement instead of just being a home wrecker with daddy issues. Wes made a choking sound that might have been suppressed laughter. Ryan stepped closer, trying to intimidate me. Maybe we should settle this the old-fashioned way. I didn't move. You mean with lawyers? I agree. I've already got mine on retainer. I mean with our fists, you coward. Ah, I nodded thoughtfully. So you want to commit assault in front of witnesses while trespassing on private property. That's definitely the kind of brilliant thinking I'd expect from someone who thought sleeping with another man's wife was a good idea. Ryan's phone was in his hand, probably recording what he thought would be his big, tough guy moment. Without warning, I knocked it out of his grip. It landed in Wes's paint bucket with a satisfying splash. Oops, I said. Butterfingers. You snake! Ryan lunged for the bucket, but his phone was already submerged in latex primer. That's unfortunate, I said. Maybe next time don't wave expensive electronics around a construction site. Vivienne grabbed Ryan's arm. Let's just go. No, Ryan snarled. This asshole thinks he's better than everyone. I'm tired of his attitude. Really? I asked. Because I think you're tired of being a disappointment to everyone who's ever met you, including your parents, your ex-employers, and apparently now my ex-wife, who's starting to realize that trading a husband for a boy toy wasn't the upgrade she thought it would be. Ryan swung at me. I'd been expecting it. Guys like Ryan always telegraphed their punches. I stepped aside easily, and his momentum carried him straight into Wes's workbench, tools scattered everywhere as Ryan crashed into the pegboard. Ryan! Vivienne rushed to help him up. I didn't touch him, I said mildly. He attacked a workbench. Maybe he should stick to fighting inanimate objects. They're more his speed. Ryan struggled to his feet, his designer shirt torn and paint-stained. This isn't over. Yes, it is, I said. You're going to leave now, both of you. And Ryan, if I see you near my property again, I'll call the police and press charges for trespassing, attempted assault, and harassment. I've got 2 witnesses and probably security footage from 3 different angles. I pointed to the cameras Wes had installed around his property after a break-in the previous year. You can't, Vivienne started. I can, and I will. You made your choice, Viv. You chose him over me, lies over truth, cheap thrills over a real marriage. Fine, but don't expect me to make it easy for you. As they left, Ryan limping slightly and Vivienne's heels clicking angrily on the pavement, Wes turned to me with admiration. Damn, Sawyer. That was brutal. That was just the opening act, I replied, already planning the next move. Nina Rodriguez had been my project manager for 3 years, and she possessed the rare combination of absolute competence and zero tolerance for bullshit. When I called her Monday morning to explain my situation, her response was typically direct. About time, she said. I've been wondering when you'd figure out your wife was cheating on you. You knew? Sawyer, everyone knew. She wasn't exactly subtle about it. The question is, what do you want to do about it? I want to make sure the divorce goes smoothly, and I want to make sure certain truths come to light. Truths about what? About where Vivienne's been getting her spending money, about her relationship with Ryan Palmer, about some interesting financial irregularities I've discovered. Nina was quiet for a moment. What kind of irregularities? The kind that might interest Vivienne's employer, and possibly the IRS. I'm listening. Over the next hour, I laid out everything I'd discovered. Vivienne had been skimming money from our joint accounts for months, supposedly for business expenses that never seemed to have receipts. She'd also been receiving mysterious cash deposits that didn't match her declared income from Pulse. You think she's been stealing from the club? Nina asked. I think she's been creative with her expense reports. I also think Ryan's been paying her for services that aren't exactly professional consultation. Jesus, Sawyer, this is serious stuff. That's why I need your help. You're good with financial records, and you know people in the service industry. I need to know exactly what Vivienne and Ryan have been up to, and I need documentation. Nina agreed to help, partly out of loyalty and partly because she'd never liked Vivienne. That woman always treated you like shit, she said. It's time someone returned the favor. Tuesday afternoon, Chloe Martinez made her first mistake. She called me directly, trying to play peacemaker. Sawyer, this is ridiculous. Vivienne loves you. She made a mistake, but people make mistakes. You're being way too harsh. Am I? Yes. She's devastated. She's barely eating, barely sleeping, and Ryan feels terrible about everything. I'm sure he does. Look, maybe we can work something out. Vivienne's willing to pay you to keep quiet about this whole thing. She doesn't want it getting around town, affecting her job. I sat up straighter. She wants to pay me? Just to be discreet. You know how people talk in a small town. It could ruin her reputation. How much? $5,000? Cash. I pretended to consider it. That's interesting, Chloe. Where would Vivienne get $5,000 in cash? She's been saving. Bullshit. I know exactly how much money Vivienne has, and it's not enough for bribes. So where's the money really coming from? Silence. Let me guess, I continued. Ryan's contributing to the fund? Or maybe there's some other source of income I don't know about? I don't know what you're implying. I'm not implying anything. I'm stating facts. Vivienne doesn't have $5,000 unless she's been stealing it from somewhere. And if she's been stealing it, that makes this attempted bribe even more interesting. I hung up and immediately called Nina. They just tried to bribe me, I said. Perfect. Did you record it? Every word. Send it to me. I'll add it to the file. Wednesday evening, Wes and I put phase 2 of the plan into action. Ryan Palmer lived in Harborview Condos, a pretentious complex that catered to young professionals who wanted to pretend they were more successful than they actually were. His unit was on the 3rd floor with a balcony overlooking the parking lot. Are you sure about this? Wes asked as we climbed the stairs. Completely sure. Because breaking and entering is a felony. We're not breaking and entering. We're conducting a home improvement consultation. With what authorization? I held up a key. Vivienne gave this to me 6 months ago when Ryan was out of town and needed someone to water his plants. She forgot to ask for it back. That's not exactly legal authorization. It's not illegal either. Gray area. Wes shook his head, but followed me anyway. Ryan's condo was exactly what I'd expected. Expensive furniture that looked like it came from a catalog, a sound system that cost more than most people's cars, and a refrigerator full of energy drinks and leftover takeout. The place reeked of cologne and desperation. What exactly are we doing here? Wes whispered. Home improvement, I said, pulling supplies from my backpack. I'd planned this carefully. Nothing illegal, nothing destructive, nothing that couldn't be explained as a prank between friends, but definitely something that would make Ryan's life more interesting. First, I replaced all the light bulbs in his bedroom with colored party bulbs, hot pink and electric blue. Then I filled his cologne bottles with water and food coloring. His expensive suits got swapped out for identical-looking knockoffs I'd bought at a thrift store. In the kitchen, I placed a small Bluetooth speaker inside the cabinet above his stove, programmed to play circus music at random intervals. I also left a bag of frozen fish in his air conditioning vent. It would start smelling in a few days, but wouldn't cause any permanent damage. The coup de grace was a note I left on his bathroom mirror, written in washable marker. Welcome to the real-world homewrecker. Next time, pick on someone who isn't smarter than you. SK. This is either brilliant or insane, Wes said as we prepared to leave. Why not both? Thursday morning, I got a furious call from Vivienne. What did you do to Ryan's apartment? I have no idea what you're talking about. Don't lie to me, Sawyer. Someone broke into his place and trashed it. Trashed it? That seems extreme. Did they steal anything? No, they played pranks. Childish, stupid pranks. Sounds like something a college student would do. Maybe Ryan has enemies from his DJ days. It was you. Can you prove that? Silence. Vivienne, I've been staying at Wes's place, working on my projects, trying to rebuild my life after my wife decided to blow up our marriage for a wannabe DJ. I don't have time for pranks. The note was signed with your initials. SK. Those are pretty common initials. Could be anyone. She hung up, and I smiled for the first time in weeks. Friday afternoon, Nina called with an update. I've got good news and better news, she said. Start with the good news. Vivienne's been skimming from the club's promotional budget. Not huge amounts, but enough to add up. She's been claiming expenses for events that never happened and keeping the cash. And the better news? Ryan's been helping her. He's been providing fake receipts for DJ services he never performed. They've been splitting the money. How much? About $15,000 over the past 8 months. I whistled. That's felony territory. It gets better. I've got copies of everything. Fake receipts, forged invoices, even some text messages where they discuss how to avoid getting caught. Nina, you're a genius. I'm a professional. There's a difference. So what do you want to do with this information? I want to make sure it gets to the right people at the right time. When's the right time? Soon, I said. Very soon. Saturday morning brought Millbrook Harbor's annual seafood festival, a beloved tradition where the entire town gathered in the public square to eat overpriced lobster rolls and pretend our little coastal community was more charming than it actually was. It was also the perfect stage for the next act of my revenge. Vivienne and Ryan arrived around noon, clearly trying to present a united front. She wore a sundress that cost more than most people's weekly salary, while Ryan sported the kind of casual but expensive outfit that screamed, "Trust fund baby trying too hard." They moved through the crowd like they owned the place, stopping to chat with club regulars and local business owners. I watched from my position at Nina's booth. She was selling her homemade jewelry as a side business, and marveled at their audacity. After everything that had happened, they were still playing the part of the glamorous couple, still acting like their affair was some kind of romantic triumph instead of a pathetic cliché. "They've got balls, I'll give them that," Nina muttered, following my gaze. "Balls, yes. Brains, no." Mrs. Fenwick appeared at my elbow like a materializing ghost. "Sawyer, dear, I see your ex-wife is making quite the spectacle of herself." "Is she?" "Oh, yes. She and that Palmer boy have been all over each other since they arrived. Quite disgusting, really. People are starting to talk." "What are they saying?" Mrs. Fenwick's eyes gleamed with the joy of someone about to share particularly juicy gossip. "Well, Martha Henderson saw them leaving the motel on Route 1 last Tuesday morning, and Betty Walsh noticed Ryan's car parked outside your old house 3 different nights this week. People are putting 2 and 2 together." "I imagine they are. Of course, I've been helping the process along. Just sharing what I've observed, you understand. As a concerned neighbor." I patted her arm gently. "Mrs. Fenwick, you're a treasure. I'm a 73-year-old woman with excellent eyesight and a long memory. In my experience, people like your ex-wife always get what's coming to them. It just takes patience." Around 2 p.m., Ryan made his first major mistake of the day. He'd been drinking, beer at a family festival, classy, and his voice was carrying farther than he realized. I was close enough to hear him bragging to a group of younger guys about his conquest. "I mean, she was married to that boring architect for 8 years, Ryan was saying, gesturing with his beer bottle. 8 years of the same routine, same conversations, same everything. She needed someone who could show her what she was missing. "Dude, that's cold," one of his listeners said, but he was grinning. "Not cold, just honest. Some guys can't handle a woman like Vivienne. She needs excitement, adventure, someone who knows how to have fun." "What about her husband?" Ryan shrugged. "What about him? He's a nice guy, I guess, but nice doesn't cut it in the bedroom. Vivienne told me she hadn't felt truly alive in years before we got together." I felt Wes tense beside me. Say the word, and I'll accidentally spill something on him. "Not yet," I murmured. "Let him keep talking." Ryan was on a roll now, emboldened by his audience and the alcohol. "The best part is, she's finally free to be herself. No more pretending to care about blueprints and building codes. No more fake smiles at boring dinner parties with boring people. She's with someone who appreciates what she has to offer." "Sounds like you really saved her," someone said sarcastically. "I did save her, from a lifetime of mediocrity." That's when I decided it was time to make my move. I walked over to the group casually, carrying a tray of drinks I'd bought from the beverage stand. "Hey, Ryan," I said pleasantly. "Interesting conversation you're having." The group fell silent. Ryan's face went pale, then red. "Sawyer, I didn't see you there." "Obviously. You were too busy explaining how you saved my wife from mediocrity. That's fascinating stuff. Look, man. No, really, I'm curious. Tell me more about how Vivienne hadn't felt alive in years. I'd love to hear your expert analysis of my marriage." Ryan straightened up, alcohol making him braver than he should have been. "Maybe this isn't the place." Oh, I think this is the perfect place. You were comfortable discussing my private life with strangers, so surely you can discuss it with me. The crowd was starting to notice our conversation. People were drifting closer, sensing drama. You want to know the truth? Ryan said, his voice rising. The truth is, Vivienne deserves better than what you gave her. She deserves someone who pays attention to her, who makes her feel special, who doesn't take her for granted. Someone like you? Yeah, someone like me. I nodded thoughtfully. So you're saying you're better for her than I was? Damn right I am. Interesting theory. Let's test it. I pretended to stumble, and the tray of drinks I was carrying flew directly at Ryan. Ice-cold soda and beer drenched his expensive outfit, leaving him standing there dripping and humiliated in front of half the town. Oops, I said. Butterfingers again. Ryan lunged at me, but this time I was ready. I sidestepped easily, and he crashed into the beverage stand behind me, sending cups and napkins flying everywhere. Ryan! Vivienne appeared out of nowhere, rushing to help him up. Are you okay? I'm fine, he snarled, but he clearly wasn't. His shirt was ruined, his hair was soaked, and he had mustard from someone's hot dog smeared on his cheek. Vivienne, I said politely, you might want to teach your boyfriend some self-control. This is a family event. You did this on purpose. I spilled some drinks. Accidents happen. This wasn't an accident. Can you prove it wasn't? She stared at me with pure hatred. You're pathetic, Sawyer. This whole revenge fantasy of yours is pathetic. Revenge fantasy? I looked around at the crowd that had gathered to watch the show. I'm not sure what you mean. I came to enjoy the festival, just like everyone else. I can't help it if your boyfriend can't handle his alcohol. He's not drunk. He's not sober either. Maybe you should take him home, help him clean up. He smells like a brewery. Ryan tried to lunge at me again, but Wes stepped between us. That's enough, Wes said firmly. Ryan, you need to walk away. This asshole is standing in front of 50 witnesses who just watched you attack him twice, Wes said. You want to try for a third time and see what happens? Chloe appeared, grabbing Ryan's other arm. Come on, we're leaving. As they dragged Ryan away, I heard him shouting, This isn't over, Kincaid. Yes, it is, I called back. It's been over since you decided to sleep with another man's wife. The crowd began to disperse, but I could hear the whispers starting. By evening, the story would be all over town, how Ryan Palmer had made a drunken fool of himself at the festival, how he'd attacked Sawyer Kincaid twice and missed both times, how he'd had to be dragged away by his girlfriend and her friend. Mrs. Fenwick appeared at my side again. That was beautifully handled, dear. Thank you. Of course, the real fun will start when people hear about what else that boy's been up to. What do you mean? She smiled mysteriously. Oh, I think you know exactly what I mean. Small towns have long memories, Sawyer, and longer tongues. As I watched Vivienne and Chloe escort a dripping, humiliated Ryan toward the parking lot, I realized Mrs. Fenwick was right. The town was starting to turn against them, one embarrassing incident at a time. Phase 3 was about to begin. Sunday evening, I received an unexpected visitor. Eli Santos, Ryan's business partner and fellow DJ, knocked on Wes's garage door, looking nervous and guilty. Sawyer, can we talk? Eli was 26, skinny, and possessed the kind of nervous energy that suggested he'd been living on energy drinks and anxiety for the past several months. Unlike Ryan, he'd always struck me as having at least half a brain. What's on your mind, Eli? It's about Ryan and Vivienne, and some stuff that's been going down that I think you should know about. I invited him in, curious. Look, Eli said, fidgeting with his phone. I know you and Ryan have beef, and honestly, I get it. What he did to you was messed up, but there's more going on than just the affair. I'm listening. Ryan's been stealing, from the club, from clients, from pretty much everyone, and Vivienne's been helping him. Tell me more. Eli pulled out his phone and showed me a series of text messages. I've been keeping records because I knew this shit was going to blow up eventually, and I didn't want to go down with him. The messages were damning. Ryan bragging about fake invoices, Vivienne discussing how to hide money from Sawyer's nosy questions, detailed plans for skimming cash from club events. "Why are you showing me this?" I asked. "Because Ryan's trying to pin some of it on me. He's telling people I was the one who came up with the fake receipt scheme. He's setting me up to take the fall. And you want my help? I want to make a deal. I give you everything I've got on Ryan and Vivienne, and I mean everything, and you make sure people know I wasn't part of their scam." I studied Eli's face. He was scared, desperate, and probably telling the truth. "What kind of everything are we talking about? Financial records, text messages, even some audio recordings of Ryan bragging about ripping people off, plus some other stuff that would interest you." "What other stuff?" Eli hesitated. "Ryan's been talking about you. Saying things, making threats." "What kind of threats?" "He wants to trash your reputation, maybe sabotage some of your construction projects. He's been asking around about your clients, trying to find dirt he can use against you." That was news to me, and not welcome news. "He's also been talking about getting back at you for humiliating him at the festival. He's got some plan involving your ex-wife and a lot of social media drama." "When? Soon? Maybe this week?" I made my decision. "Okay, Eli, let's make a deal." Monday morning, I put the final phase of my plan into motion. Using the information Eli had provided, plus Nina's financial detective work, I compiled a comprehensive dossier on Ryan and Vivienne's criminal activities. Then I made some phone calls. The first call went to Marcus Webb, the owner of Pulse nightclub. Marcus was a successful businessman who'd built his reputation on running clean establishments. He did not appreciate employees who stole from him. "Mr. Webb, this is Sawyer Kincaid. I have some information about your PR manager that I think you'll find interesting." The second call went to the Millbrook Harbor Police Department. Financial fraud might not be the most exciting crime, but it was still a crime. The third call went to Vivienne herself. "We need to meet," I said when she answered. "Sawyer, why are you calling me?" "Because you and Ryan are in serious trouble, and I'm offering you one chance to minimize the damage." "What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about $15,000 in stolen money, fake invoices, fraudulent expense reports, and a very unhappy club owner who's about to fire you and press charges." Silence. "Meet me at the Harbor Light Motel tonight at 8 p.m., room 237. Come alone, and we'll discuss terms." "Terms for what?" "Terms for keeping you out of prison." I hung up before she could respond. The Harbor Light Motel was exactly the kind of place you'd expect to find in a Stephen King novel, shabby, depressing, and filled with the ghosts of bad decisions. I'd rented room 237 for one night, not because I planned to stay there, but because I needed a controlled environment for what was about to happen. At 7:45 p.m., I set up my phone to live stream to a private group I'd created specifically for this purpose. The group included Marcus Webb, Mrs. Fenwick, Nina, Wes, and several other key members of Millbrook Harbor's social network. Vivienne arrived at exactly 8 p.m., looking nervous but trying to project confidence. She was alone, as instructed. "Sawyer, what is this about?" "Come in. We need to talk." She entered the motel room cautiously, clearly uncomfortable with the setting. "This is dramatic, even for you," she said. "Sit down, Viv." She remained standing. "Just tell me what you want. I want you to understand exactly how cornered you are." I opened my laptop and showed her the evidence Eli and Nina had compiled. Financial records, text messages, audio recordings, photographs of fake receipts. The color drained from her face as she realized the scope of what I'd discovered. "Where did you get this?" "Does it matter? The question is, what are you going to do about it?" "You can't prove—" "I can prove all of it. Marcus Webb has already seen the financial records. The police have copies of everything. Your little side business with Ryan is over." She sat down heavily on the motel room's single chair. "What do you want?" she asked quietly. "I want you to admit what you did. On camera. Right now." "I'm not admitting anything." "Then you're going to prison. Marcus is pressing charges, the police are investigating, and Ryan's already trying to pin everything on you." "Ryan wouldn't." "Ryan's a coward and a liar. You think he's going to protect you when his own ass is on the line?" As if on cue, there was a knock at the door. Ryan's voice. "Viv, are you in there?" I smiled. "You didn't come alone." I told him not to come. But he came anyway, because he doesn't trust you any more than you should trust him. I opened the door. Ryan stood there looking agitated and suspicious. "What the hell is this about, Kincaid?" "Come in, Ryan. We were just discussing your future, or lack thereof." He entered the room and immediately saw the laptop displaying their incriminating text messages. "You snake!" he snarled. "Careful, Ryan. You're being recorded." "Recorded?" I pointed to my phone, which was still live streaming. "Say hello to Marcus Webb, the Millbrook Harbor Police Department, and about 50 of your former friends and neighbors." Ryan lunged at the phone, but I was ready for him. I grabbed his wrist and twisted, sending him stumbling backward into the bathroom door. "That's assault," I said calmly. "On camera, in front of witnesses. You set us up." "You set yourselves up. I just documented it." Vivienne was staring at the phone in horror. "How many people are watching this?" "Enough. The question is, do you want to go down fighting, or do you want to minimize the damage?" "What kind of deal are you offering?" she asked. "Full confession, on camera. Admit to the affair, admit to the theft, admit to the lies. Take responsibility for your actions. And in return, I'll recommend leniency to Marcus and the police. I'll suggest community service instead of jail time." "That's bullshit," Ryan said. "We don't have to admit anything." "You're right, Ryan. You don't. You can fight this in court, spend your parents' money on lawyers, and probably still go to prison. Your choice." Vivienne looked at Ryan, then at me, then at the phone that was broadcasting their humiliation to the entire town. "I'll do it," she said quietly. "Vivienne, no." Ryan grabbed her arm. "Don't say anything." She shook him off. "It's over, Ryan. We're caught." She looked directly into the camera. "My name is Vivienne Rojas. I've been having an affair with Ryan Palmer for 8 months. I've also been stealing money from my employer and falsifying expense reports. I lied to my husband, I lied to my friends, and I lied to myself about what I was doing." Ryan stared at her in disbelief. "What the hell are you doing?" "I'm telling the truth for once in my life." She continued. "Ryan and I stole approximately $15,000 from Pulse nightclub over the past 8 months. We created fake invoices, false expense reports, and fraudulent receipts. We split the money and used it to fund our affair." "Vivienne, shut up!" Ryan was panicking now. "I'm sorry for what I did to my husband. I'm sorry for what I did to my employer. And I'm sorry for being stupid enough to think this would end any way other than badly." She stood up and walked toward the door. "Where are you going?" Ryan demanded. "Home. To pack. And then to turn myself into the police." "You can't leave me here." "Watch me." After she left, Ryan turned to me with pure hatred in his eyes. "You think you've won?" "I know I've won. This isn't over." "Yes, it is. Your girlfriend just confessed to everything on live stream. Your business partner gave me all your financial records. Your employer knows you're a thief. Your parents are going to find out what you really are. It's over, Ryan." He tried to rush me one more time, but I was done playing games. I stepped aside and let his momentum carry him straight into the wall. He hit it hard and slid to the floor, dazed. "Stay down," I advised. "You've embarrassed yourself enough for one lifetime." I picked up my phone and spoke directly to the camera. "Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for witnessing the end of a very ugly chapter in my life. Justice has been served, truth has been told, and the people who tried to destroy my marriage have destroyed themselves instead. I ended the live stream and looked down at Ryan, who was still sitting on the floor looking stunned. Ryan, let me give you some free advice. Leave town. Tonight. Because after what just happened, Millbrook Harbor is going to be a very uncomfortable place for you to live. I walked out of the motel room and didn't look back. Tuesday morning brought a reckoning that exceeded even my expectations. The live stream from the motel had been viewed by over 300 people, shared dozens of times, and dissected in every coffee shop, bar, and beauty salon in Millbrook Harbor. Marcus Webb fired Vivienne via text message at 6 a.m. The police issued warrants for both Vivienne and Ryan by 9 a.m. Ryan's parents, who had driven up from Boston after seeing the live stream, arrived at his condo at 10 a.m. to find their son packing everything he owned into garbage bags. I learned all this from Mrs. Fenwick, who had appointed herself my personal intelligence network. That Palmer boy tried to leave town this morning, she reported over coffee at Wes's garage. But his car was repossessed right there in the parking lot. Apparently, he'd missed 3 payments. Where is he now? Walking around town with a suitcase, looking for someone to give him a ride. His parents refused to help him, said he'd embarrassed the family enough. And Vivienne? Turned herself into the police an hour ago. She's being processed now. I felt a strange sense of completion. For months, I'd been the victim in this story, the betrayed husband, the cuckolded fool, the man everyone pitied. Now, finally, I was something else entirely. At 2 p.m., my phone rang. Ryan Palmer, calling from a number I didn't recognize. Kincaid, we need to talk. No, we don't. Yes, we do. Meet me at Tony's auto shop in 20 minutes. Why would I do that? Because if you don't, I'm going to make your life hell. I've got nothing left to lose. Something in his voice made me take the threat seriously. Fine, 20 minutes. I called Wes. Want to come watch me finish this? Wouldn't miss it. Tony's auto shop was on the industrial side of town, a legitimate business that also served as an unofficial meeting place for people who needed to settle disputes away from prying eyes. Tony Marconi, the owner, was a friend of Wes's and had agreed to let us use his shop after hours. Ryan was waiting for us when we arrived, and he looked like hell. His expensive clothes were wrinkled and stained, his hair was unwashed, and his eyes had the wild look of someone who'd been awake for 36 hours straight. You destroyed my life, he said without preamble. No, Ryan, you destroyed your own life. I just made sure everyone knew about it. I had everything, a good business, a beautiful woman, respect in this town. Now I've got nothing. You had nothing to begin with. You were a trust fund baby playing dress-up as a successful businessman. Your good business was built on theft and fraud, and the woman you're talking about was my wife. She chose me. She chose easy money and cheap thrills. There's a difference. Ryan pulled something from his jacket, a crowbar he'd apparently taken from Tony's shop. I'm going to beat the shit out of you, he said. No, you're not. Wes stepped forward, but I waved him back. This was my fight. Ryan, put the crowbar down. You're already facing criminal charges. You want to add assault with a deadly weapon to the list? I don't care anymore. You destroyed everything. I didn't ruin anything. I exposed the truth. There's a difference. He swung the crowbar at me, but he was emotional, exhausted, and completely untrained. I stepped aside easily and grabbed his wrist, twisting until he dropped the weapon. That's enough, I said, pinning him against a workbench. You're done. Let me go. Not until you admit what you really are. Screw you. I increased the pressure on his wrist. Say it, Ryan. Tell me what you are. You're a thief, a liar, a homewrecker, a pathetic little boy who thought he could steal another man's life and get away with it. Yes, he screamed. Yes, okay? I'm all of those things. Are you happy now? I released him and stepped back. He slumped against the workbench, defeated. I'm not happy, Ryan. I'm satisfied. There's a difference. Tony Marconi emerged from his office, where he'd been watching the entire confrontation. You boys done? He asked. We're done, I said. Ryan straightened up, trying to salvage some dignity. This isn't over, Kincaid. Yes, it is. You're leaving town tonight, remember? Your girlfriend's in jail, your business is destroyed, your reputation is ruined, and your parents have disowned you. What exactly are you going to do for an encore? He stared at me with pure hatred, but we both knew he was beaten. You think you're so smart, he said. Smarter than you, but that's not exactly a high bar. Ryan picked up his suitcase and walked toward the door. At the threshold, he turned back. I hope you're satisfied with your revenge. I am. Completely. Good, because you're going to be alone for the rest of your life. No woman will ever trust a man who destroys people the way you destroyed us. I smiled. Ryan, I didn't destroy you. You destroyed yourself. I just made sure everyone got to watch. He left without another word. Tony clapped me on the shoulder. That was surprisingly ruthless, Sawyer. That was justice. Same thing sometimes. Wednesday evening, I stood in the town square where this had all begun, watching the sunset over Millbrook Harbor. Vivienne was in jail awaiting trial. Ryan had left town on a Greyhound bus, destination unknown. Chloe had deleted all her social media accounts and was reportedly looking for work in another state. Mrs. Fenwick joined me on the bench where I was sitting. How do you feel, dear? She asked. Satisfied, complete, like I can finally move on with my life. Any regrets? I considered the question. I regret that it came to this. I regret that my marriage ended. I regret that I had to become someone I didn't particularly like in order to get justice. But you don't regret the revenge itself? No. They made their choices. They hurt people, stole money, lied to everyone who trusted them. They deserved what they got. And now? Now I rebuild. New projects, new relationships, new life. But this time, I'll be more careful about who I trust. Mrs. Fenwick patted my hand. You're a good man, Sawyer Kincaid. A little ruthless when pushed, but good. This town is better off without people like Ryan Palmer and your ex-wife. As if summoned by our conversation, Wes appeared with a 6-pack of beer and a satisfied expression. Just heard the news, he said. Vivienne pled guilty to all charges. She's getting 2 years probation and has to pay full restitution to the club. What about Ryan? Word is he's in Florida, living with some cousin and working at a pizza place. Apparently his parents really did cut him off completely. I opened a beer and raised it in a toast. To justice served. To revenge completed, Wes corrected. To moving on, Mrs. Fenwick added. We drank in comfortable silence as the sun finished setting over the harbor. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new projects, new possibilities. But tonight, I was exactly where I wanted to be, free, vindicated, and surrounded by people who actually gave a damn about me. For the first time in months, I felt genuinely happy. Ryan Palmer and Vivienne Rojas had tried to destroy my life, steal my money, and humiliate me in front of my entire community. Instead, they'd destroyed themselves while making me stronger, smarter, and more determined than ever. The underdog had won. The cheaters had lost. Justice had been served. It was, I reflected, a perfect ending to an ugly story.